What happens when the most feared villain in the world tries to possess the body of an ordinary boy? He makes the biggest mistake of his life and ends up handing over his dark powers on a silver platter in a world where awakening a combat class is everything. Lin Feng awakened as a useless rank-N farmer, rejected, humiliated, called trash by the elite. All he wanted was to grow his vegetables in peace until chaos falls from the sky right into his backyard. The system merges the weakest class in the world with the worst forbidden magic. The first Necromancer farmer is born, and now his crops turn into colossal monsters. He humiliates the academy instructors, annihilates dungeon bosses for fun, and raises a shadow army that never stops growing, all while pretending to be a harmless peasant. This is the story of the boy who turned death into his own farm. And if I were you, I'd think twice before stepping on his lawn. Post-Cataclysm, magic went crazy and demons attacked, but 10 heroes put up barriers. Now everyone awakens a class, but the original 10 are unique and super overpowered. In Fichuan, year 335, the awakening ceremony is starting, and they announce our MC's arrival. Our main guy steps out of the car and thanks Uncle Zhang. He spots the huge crowd at the exam. A top-tier class is a golden ticket to elite academies. Kids are praying to the legacy idols. One guy wants to be an SR-rank berserker at the very least. Someone rushes the line, and our MC chuckles at a girl praying. So much hope, poor thing. A buddy explains the hype. Rumor has it, a new heir will pop up, and there are 4 open spots. The MC notices everyone's hyped up. Awesome, marketing is going to pay off today. The exam officially begins. Results are in. Lin Hu is an R, Winsa gets an N, and Jefei shines with an S rank. Accepted right away. His buddy drools over Jefei's power. He wishes he had that kind of luck. Our MC slides in and offers a magic tomato to give his power a quick upgrade. He calls himself a plant doctor. The tomato gives a 5% buff for just 5 gold coins. He keeps up the sales pitch, a filling potato, a fitness cucumber, and attack beans. Some think it's a scam, while others want to lose weight or ditch those nasty protein bars. The MC announces limited stock and offers a free sample to the first taker. The power-hungry kid grabs the tomato, looking a bit skeptical. He takes the first bite looking like he's about to get scammed. Suddenly, the kid freaks out with joy. His power spiked and his body feels super light. It actually works. Some rich dude recognizes the crop quality, and the MC says it's a special promo for the future elite. The guy in the suit is sold and tells him to bag up the entire stock. Total chaos breaks out in line. Everybody wants the miracle tomato that actually works. The MC thinks to himself, he's just a max-level farmer. But his sale pitch is the real deal. After selling out, our main guy chills in front of a store. He spots someone coming over to make a deal. A buddy pays 10 gold coins for some seeds and random items. The MC sighs he's still short on cash for premium fertilizer to upgrade his field. His friend praises how handy the plants are and asks why he doesn't just grow more. The MC snaps back, do you think growing magic buffs is as easy as growing weeds? His buddy mourns the wasted talent of being a farmer, and the MC kicks him out right away. He remembers he's just an N rank, totally ruining his archdruid dad's legacy. The old man almost had a heart attack. The son of an herbalist and an archdruid ended up a farmer. Hey, at least he won't die in a war. For his mom's peace of mind, he decides to be the absolute best farm manager out there. Out of nowhere, a drop hits the MC's face while he's walking. Right on a sunny day, something seriously messed up with the weather. The sky starts raining people, like literally raining bodies. The MC panics. Did the wall fall, or did demons breach the city? He finds someone laying there in a pile of broken gear. A survivor drops a bomb. The heir, He Xiao, betrayed everyone and is handing the legacy over to the demons. Before he can even finish, a dark spear pierces right through the guy. Our MC freezes. Can you actually hand over a legacy class to monsters? He Xiao steps out of the shadows. The MC saw way too much and is now on the hit list. The villain explains that, injured or not, he'll get an immortal body after the transfer. The traitor locks eyes on a specific spot. Our guy tries to lay low and plans his getaway while the villain's distracted. But He Xiao is way too fast. Who said you could leave? The villain lifts him by the throat and decides to use the MC's blood as a sacrifice. The enemy's energy is terrifying. Our MC is frozen stiff, with zero chance of breaking loose. He tries to keep his cool. He needs a plan right now, or this is the end of the harvest. Just then, the MC summons a farming tool using his skill. Saying he'll make an offering, he dares the villain to defend himself. Soon, the kid strikes the Necromancer and sends him straight to hell. He Xiao Xiao is completely shocked by the brutal force of the attack. Disbelieving a farmer hurt him, the villain throws the young guy far away, reaching for the dropped weapon near Yu Ye's body, activating and firing a powerful blue energy blast at the enemy, and the villain takes a direct hit from the energy burst. But even heavily wounded, the criminal manages to stay on his feet. Looking back, the kid notices he stepped on a tracking matrix. Seeing him trapped, Xiao decides to possess the boy's body to escape. Turned into a dark mass, he charges straight at our hero. Right then, the energy invades the guy's body, causing terrible agony. And, inside the kid's mind, Xiao cracks a sinister smile, praising the vessel's talent, saying the kid is actually lucky. Being sarcastic, the MC warns he trained his whole life to resist. Surprised, the Necromancer notices the kid's power is out of reach. Then, the kid realizes his luck ran out and takes a drastic measure, quickly grabbing a dagger dropped right on the ground. With pure determination, deciding that both of them are going down together. Panicking, the Necromancer asks what the hell he's trying to do, but the MC buries the dagger into his own chest to stop the possession. Thinking of his late dad, afraid of getting yelled at in the afterlife, losing consciousness while the shadows quickly eat him up. Suddenly, an intense golden light shines right out of his chest, leaving Xiao confused and blinded by the magic power erupting, with the brightness expanding and completely stunning the villain. Back on the outside, the traitor screams that this is impossible. Golden chains shoot out from the light and lock the Necromancer down, with the holy energy starting a brutal beatdown on the entity. Then the system sends a prompt congratulating him on his new inherited class. Waking up from the trance, totally spooked by what just went down, even with a knife in his chest, realizing he's actually still alive, noticing he still controls his body and beat the dark possession. Then, a purple status window pops up floating right in front of him, now being a spiritual form master with stats hitting the 300s, carefully checking out every single detail on his new status screen, with the system listing affinity and undead summoning, dropping back to level 1 but keeping all his old stats intact, with the Necromancer's soul pushing his magic way past the limits. Cautious, he's afraid of summoning the villain himself with this new power. Then, a vibrant green energy pops up right in the palm of his hand, and, in the other, a purple flame starts burning super bright, perfectly merging his former power with that dark necrotic magic. Seeing the classes branch out, noticing he scored a bonus class, looking at the corpse on the floor, wondering where that inheritance came from, with the skill tree confirming the unique fusion of his classes, feeling he needs to tame this power so he doesn't black out. Looking at the farmer icon, he actually finds the earthy color friendly. Then he finally triggers the undead summoning skill. Just like that, the Necromancer's body starts to completely dust away, summoning the wild hunter Heixia right next to the sage Yue Yi, confirming the duo kept their skills, even sitting at level 1. Hearing sirens in the distance, realizing he needs to dodge the cops, because nobody would ever believe a farmer beat elite warriors, looking for a safe spot with rich soil to test out his new powers. A whole day going by since that terrible incident in the city, but the Necromancer's dark vibe is still messing with the kid's class. Now on TV, they announce the birthday of an agriculture veteran, while the kid notices some weird mutations in his field crops, with the plants giving off a greenish, totally mystical glow, plus a sinister purple energy radiating straight from the leaves, one of the seedlings growing into a giant and super bizarre bubble, and another plant turning carnivorous, swallowing a clueless bird whole. Horrified, fearing they'll mistake his garden for a demonic invasion, deciding to put a permanent end to those mutations as fast as possible. After burying it all, wondering about the new power's impact on the soil, planning to grow the rare crops his late dad always dreamed of. Then, the news warns that Xiao is wanted for killing the dean, doubling down on being careful so nobody finds out his link to the villain. Thinking about the inspection, looking for low-key names for his new minions, deciding to call them farm servants to avoid any kind of suspicion. Soon, the academy opens up spots with land and gear for those who pass, determined, focusing on the safety and rich soil of the school's fields. The kid arriving at the registration plaza to sign up, telling the examiner that he's a level 1 spiritual farm master. But instructor Lee doubts his class and demands to see his aura, focusing his energy and blasting a strong green light from his hand. With total disgust, the man calls him trash and tells the kid to get lost, and the students mock him, saying they wouldn't even hire him for field work, pushing for a chance, claiming he's got solid farming fundamentals. Annoyed, Lee orders security to kick the kid out immediately, stepping up to the guy, citing rules and threatening a formal complaint, pretending to call the supervisor, leaving the instructor totally cornered. In a flash, the teacher snatches the phone right out of the kid's hands, threatening to make him regret it during the actual practical exam. with the crowd gossiping that the instructor is just bitter about his own failures, yelling that anyone who's unhappy can get out of line right now, taking the group to an isolated area filled with giant roots, suggesting our MC give up on everything before embarrassing himself more, thanking him for the sarcasm and calmly walking right into the test zone, jumping over a super thick root to get himself a better position, hiding right after, getting his hunting strategy all set up. Time to show these monsters the true terror of modern farming, using carrot essence powder to lure in some high-level rabbits, spreading the stuff over the old wood to set up a trap, luring a huge and dangerous pink-horned rabbit with a strong smell, but one of the undead minions attacks the beast before it can even react, thinking the wait is too slow, ordering the minions to just clear the area. Hyped about the plan, focusing on taking down as many targets as possible, with the two minions starting a brutal slaughter using claws and a sharp spear, Heixia using his powerful dark energy to piece right through multiple targets, and Yuye crushing the monsters after trapping them in mystical bubbles, blowing the kid's mind with the duo's insane power even at level 1. Just then, the timer hits 0 and the test's time limit is officially up, with Instructor Lee ordering them to hand over all the horns they got, failing a bunch of candidates, while a few pass with just 4 items, taunting our MC, doubting a piece of trash actually got anything. Then the kid opens his inventory, glowing with a strong green light, dropping a literal mountain of horns on the instructor and the other students, leaving everyone in absolute shock at the insane amount of loot. Smiling, the MC proudly reveals he wiped out a total of 500 monsters. Stuttering, Lee finishes the count and instantly accuses the kid of cheating. Then, the director shows up, scolds Lee, and mourns the loss of his rabbits, ignoring the dumb accusations and passing the kid right then and there. Bowing, the young guy humbly thanks the boss for playing fair, but the director suddenly mentions he feels a familiar vibe from the kid, making our MC tense up, terrified that his big secret just leaked, wondering, super worried, if he got busted at that exact moment, then asking what his actual connection is to Master Linxia. Relieved, the guy realizes the man is only interested in his dad, confirming they're related and asking if he knew the old man who passed. Surprised, his dad's old buddy offers to help with his school enrollment, getting interrupted by a pink-haired woman because they're drawing too much attention. Quickly changing the subject, the director says it was just casual talk, saying goodbye to his nephew and promising a full academy tour later on, leaving the kid with the clear vibe that the old man is super sketchy. Then, the instructor calls up the ones who passed and comforts the failures. Meanwhile, in the investigation room, they look into Yueye and Heishao vanishing, concluding the traitor violently took out the dean during the search. Suspecting a dangerous hidden boss stole the Necromancer's talent. Fired up, Tuka suggests ruthlessly hunting whoever inherited those dark powers, but a coworker tells him to drop the crazy theories with 0 proof. Annoyed by the doubt, Tuka loudly swears he'll find some hard evidence, with the agents commenting right after that the academy is no place for him. Soon, the boss orders Heishao to be taken out immediately if he's found, seriously warning that anyone using necrotic magic will be executed. Meanwhile, the freshmen gather in the main quest hall for the makeup test, getting the mission to fully clear the Horned Beast Lair in 3 hours, with the students dreading the level 5 dungeon and the super tight timer, allowing groups of 5 and requiring everyone to register right away. Warriors and mages quickly start forming their squads across the hall. Checking his control panel far away from the others, our MC starts thinking. Suddenly, someone quietly sneaks up right behind the young guy, turning around super curious to see who the heck is approaching him right now. It's a level 7 mage, inviting him after seeing his awesome performance, thinking about saying yes, but desperately needing to hide his dark powers. Politely turning down the invite and choosing to fly totally solo instead. Wishing him luck, the girl heads straight out to start her mission, slowly walking away, while the guy crouches down to pick something up, going up to the instructor who finds his lack of a team weird and asking for the quest, asking if he's after the Black Bear's gallbladder and telling him to be careful. With a smile, our MC just thanks her for the solid advice. Outside the dungeon, students are busy getting all their gear ready, and a guard asks the kid where the rest of his squad is at, replying that he's solo, catching a warning about how dangerous going in alone is. But the young guy points out the rules actually let you run the challenge alone. Nearby, students praise his guts but seriously doubt he can pull it off. Unable to stop him from going in, the guard just wishes the kid good luck. Then a huge roar echoes while magic chains lock the enemy down, trapping the dungeon boss, a giant beast that just roars in pure rage. Smirking, the kid decides to use the monster as a punching bag to test his strength, summoning his minions, ordering attacks and telling them to focus on weak spots, with the lackeys charging in with a blast of blue and purple energy at the beast. Mid-fight, he downs a potion and the system fully restores his magic. Meanwhile, Yueye faces the boss, tying the creature up with magic magic chains, and Heixiao charges up an insane amount of power for a devastating hit, with the purple energy blast exploding and completely swallowing the boss. After the win, the system lets the MC know he leveled up to 8. Right after checking out the massive pile of loot the monster dropped on the floor, checking an item out, super disappointed by the lame constitution boost, with the system confirming his dual classes and giving him double the rewards. Grinning, planning to use this sweet perk to min-max his crop yields. Walking out of the dungeon, the adventurers are completely shocked by the guy, with 2 students calling him a liar since he doesn't even look like he fought. Ignoring the trash talk, walking straight over to the instructor, and the form glows with a green stamp, proving he actually cleared the mission. Looking at the paper, the woman whispers in awe that he actually pulled it off. Mind blown by the solo run, watching the Cade flash a really proud smile. Then, another roar echoes out while energy locks onto a brand new target, with the chains wrapping around the boss, who tries to break out by force. Thinking it's the perfect test, the MC calls out his entire Shadow Legion, splitting the roles between Heixiao and Yu Ye to just annihilate the beast. Executing the plan, the minions fire mystical blast straight at the monster. Downing another potion, the guy notices his team synergy is leveling up, and the undead sage keeps the monster pinned down using shackles of light, while Heixiao charges up a shadowy weapon of mass destruction, with the final attack exploding with crazy force and ending the fight for good. Soon, the system confirms his level up right after the enemy hits the dirt. Checking out the spoils of war scattered all over the cave floor, comparing them to his veggies, he actually finds the gear pretty useless. Seeing the double loot, realizing that being a hybrid is the ultimate cheat code, planning to apply this double bonus logic to his everyday farming routine. At the exit, the crowd can't believe he actually survived the challenge solo, with jealous students saying it's impossible for him to be that clean. Ignoring the rumors, he heads straight to the school's front desk, and the completion stamp glows as he hands it over to the instructor, leaving the woman speechless when she confirms the freshman cleared the zone. While she processes the shock, our guy keeps his totally satisfied posture, handing over the scroll but scolding him for taking such a dumb risk. Our boy just smiles and thanks the instructor for the heads up, warning him that the final interview is in the hall and telling him to rest, turning around and starting to walk, heading away from her down the hallway, with the woman just hoping he learns to stop being so reckless, going on his way and walking down a trail right through the middle of the woods, feeling like he's being followed, spotting 3 figures hiding behind the trees, turning around with a magic circle in his hand, totally ready to throw down, with his stalkers planning their attack, thinking he's completely out of gas, deciding to use their numbers advantage, rushing in to steal the gallbladder. Then one of the guys yells for him to stop, and the young dude glares back, with the trio demanding his dungeon loot and throwing threats at the kid. Curious, our MC asks why they chose him as their target out of everyone, making one of the muggers super pissed off at how calm the guy is, explaining that stamina items are way too valuable for a lowly farmer, but the system shows that the gallbladder and a watermelon give the exact same buff, laughing at the fuss since he harvests that exact same stat every single summer, showing the item glowing bright red, asking if this is what they want. Desperate, one of the thugs lunges forward to grab the prize, and the guy tosses the item, which explodes like a fireball right in the dude's face, with the blast throwing the guy back and causing a massive boom in the woods. Then, Ailing shows up scolding the group, since fighting is strictly banned here, but the boss tells the mage to butt out of what isn't her business. Angry at the trio's cowardice, she insists on sticking up for the guy, with her staff blazing, threatening to report them all to the instructors. However, the thug calls her bluff and warns he'll wreck her too, ordering an all-out attack with the gang charging straight at the mage. Watching from a distance, the MC banks on his allies' level 7 power. Getting ready, Ailing complains about the enemies playing so dirty, looking back and inviting the kid to fight alongside her. But, to her surprise, our MC just books it and leaves her completely alone. And, while running away, he chucks the gallbladder right back to the girl, with Ailing catching the item just as the enemies circle around her, waving from afar and offering the item as a thank you gift for the help. Furious, realizing she's now the main target of the robbery. Back in the lounge, the guy inspects the scroll and looks for a way to use it, getting a bright idea on how to make the most of that power, activating the item, which starts glowing with a strong purple energy, with the system announcing he learned the special cultivation skill, now able to use magic and materials to buff up his summons. The plan worked out, merging his 2 classes to read the code. Hyped up, starting the upgrade tests on his very own legion, with a green aura glowing from the master as the process levels up, getting getting the upgrade, He Xiao shoots straight up to level 8. Yu Ye gets buffed too and hits the exact same level as his partner. And the magic bear stands out, advancing straight up to level 9. Even smaller critters, like the lizard and the eagle, score extra levels, satisfied, admiring the super positive results of his little experiments, with his lackeys looking way more intimidating and dangerous than before. However, soon noticing that this process also has its downsides. Laying down, bummed about the lack of safe land to keep testing his stuff. Later, stepping out of the room and walking down the hallway. Then Ailing shows up and stops him, holding out the gallbladder. Smiling, the kid simply says he gave the item to her, totally shocked by the gift, insisting she can't accept it. But the MC looks bored, not getting why she's so surprised, muttering to himself, wondering why they treat a common item like a treasure. Hearing that, Ailing indignantly asks if he just called the material trash. Ignoring her completely, the young guy just turns around and keeps walking, heading back into the forest looking for an isolated spot, deep in the woods, looking around to make sure he's totally alone. Then he uses his new skill, wrapping his hands in purple energy, with the magic hitting 2 plants, turning them straight into monsters. Looking closely, he thinks they look exactly the same as before. But suddenly, he notices something weird and yells for them to wait, with the plants growing insanely fast and moving all on their own, standing in shock seeing his crops turn into giant monsters. Meanwhile, Tuka runs through the woods following a spirit detector, confident, confirming there's Necromancer energy close by. In a rush, bumping hard right into the MC's back. Right after Tuka grabs his shoulder to get his attention, asking if he's a farmer, getting a question back from the kid. Tuka makes a disgusted face, openly looking down on his class. Ignoring the question, the noble demands to know if he saw anyone weird, confirming he did, while the other guy asks where the person went. Smiling, the MC points at the investigator and says it's him. Furious, Tuka brags about being an elite and a duke's nephew, charging in angry, threatening to kill the guy for his pure audacity. Then, a hex barrier forms up, signaling the start of a duel, turning into a green werewolf and promising to make the kid pay dearly, with the young guy getting ready to defend as the enemy charges. Serious, warning that a farmer can beat him with just one hand. Then the werewolf leaps, ready to strike with razor-sharp claws. Right then the MC throws a green energy sphere straight at him, explaining that his field's wolfsbane turned into a strong narcotic. Without noticing, the creature breathes in the paralyzing dust mid-jump. Feeling dizzy, Tuga desperately asks where all his strength went, but the guy replies he just used a bit of common wolfsbane powder. Confident, claiming this is the true power of a farmer, stepping up and landing a powerful punch right in the wolf's gut. Later, he leaves Tuka tied to a tree in his underwear to cool off. Then, an announcement calls all candidates in for the interviews, realizing he needs to hurry up big time so he isn't late. Outside the hall, several candidates are whispering about the guy. Some recall he cleared the dungeon, others say he just runs away, with one competitor claiming he's better for being a level 5 elite. Soon, Aileen tries to return the gallbladder, but he insists it's hers, stating again that the material is totally useless for his needs, eating a stem and a watermelon, finding everyone else's obsession weird. Inside the auditorium, they explain the master-student choice is mutual, with an instructor starting roll call and summoning student Shi Yan, introducing himself as a level 6 earth element warrior, showing off his skills and summoning a solid stone battle armor, leaving a level 44 mentor looking pretty impressed. With total hype, Shi Yan accepts the honor of being the vet's disciple. Next, the interviewer calls Yingwu and soon summons Lin Feng to the stage, with our MC stepping up to introduce himself to the masters. Wrapped in a green aura, he identifies as a level 8 farm master. Instructors praise his level, but remind everyone he's just a farmer, with teachers debating if they should train civilians for the front lines. To settle it, the head instructor suggests a live combat test, and the other 3 evaluators quickly agree with the proposal, asking if the kid accepts the challenge to prove his actual skills, hesitating because he doesn't want to expose his necromancer secrets on stage. But soon he gets a bright idea and accepts the clash with a smile. In an open space of the auditorium, getting ready for the physical exam, with the berserker explaining that he just has to survive for 5 minutes. Then the instructor gets ready, wrapped in an intense golden energy, with the students feeling the heavy pressure of a level 40 warrior. Noticing the MC seems to completely ignore all that heavy aura. Then the master praises the kid's stance and tells him to go all out, admitting the pressure is heavy, but still managing to hold his ground, raising his hand and using a glowing sphere to summon his minions, with his plan to disguise the undead with nature magic working out, spawning them looking like plants to hide their dark origins, and the director is surprised by the magic density of that rare class. Interested in the kid, the berserker draws his weapon for the clash, charging at top speed straight toward the summoned plant bear. Jumping fast, the instructor moves nimbly through the air of the hall, coming down full force and striking the creature from a high angle, roaring while unleashing fierce strikes against the training target. But the summon tanks a rapid-fire sequence of powerful attacks, stunning the master with the creature's loyalty, refusing to just vanish. Then, the berserker ramps up the beatdown, hitting the bear even harder, with the head instructor asking if his co-worker is already getting tired. Chilling, the MC knows the undead don't feel pain and heal up easy. G notices the kid's talent and decides to take the fight seriously now, promising to make up for the loss, explaining the cost of losing a summon, activating Bloodlust and delivering a totally devastating final blow. With a single hit, the plant creature is completely shattered to pieces. Flashing a cocky smile, super satisfied he took the monster down. Seeing the kid tear up, saying he gets the pain of losing an ally. However, the MC just stares back at him with a totally blank expression. Confused, the master thinks the young guy's grief hit way too hard. Suddenly, the guy summons a bunch of new creatures that rush the master. Surrounded by monsters, G complains about the crazy amount of summons, with vines grabbing the warrior while the plant launches a direct attack. The head instructor, watching the whole plot twist happen right in front of everyone. G struggles to break free from the plant vines holding him super tight. Noticing the danger, the test leader steps in and calls the fight off, declaring that Lin Feng proved his worth and is now an official student, explaining that the nature instructors are fighting on the front lines. So, the kid asks about getting his cultivation resources unlocked. Quickly, the mentor guarantees the academy won't hold back on anything, and even mentions the top student gets to make one special request. Getting hyped up, seeing all this freedom and resources as a total paradise. Without hesitating, just asking to be granted a simple plot of land, shocking the instructor since he turned down rare items for a plain field. Then, the director agrees and hands over an abandoned field in the west, telling the kid to rest up so they can call the next one in line. Later on, showing the director's office nameplate right on the door. Inside, the director reviews the MC's registration file, sitting at his desk, finding the Farm Master class pretty intriguing. Then, an instructor walks in with a report and he asks, why the rush? Handing the official document straight into her boss's hands, reporting that Tuka was killed and they suspect a spy in the academy. Meanwhile, the kid finds the plot using the map of the western region, holding the document, which glows green the moment it's activated, with the system confirming ownership of 100 mu of land in Fengchuan, showing a prompt that the one-year contract and the barrier are active. Complaining about the short term but getting that many go to war soon. But he quickly gets hype having so much land to honor his master title, pointing up at the sky, opening up a massive purple portal, where all his summons pour out from giants to tiny little spirits, with a serious look ordering everyone to start the heavy lifting. Then, Heixia steps up using brute force to plow the dirt super fast, and Yuya uses his water powers to irrigate the entire field, while the cabbage bear and the spirits take care of planting the seeds. Sometime later, the MC chills out eating watermelon and praising the magic, grabbing his communicator and turning the device on right away, declaring out loud that the land has been fully reclaimed, with two spirits popping up, surprising the kid with how proactive they are. Except the little critter's expressions are glowing in a really creepy way. So he looks over at Yue, hoping to catch some sign of actual life, sighing as he accepts his undead minions don't have a consciousness. After that, walking straight toward a little wooden cabin nearby, while the Yue summon stays frozen with a completely blank face, with that empty stare confirming he's really just a mindless lackey, arriving at the greenhouse protected by massive glass walls. Inside, taking care of several neatly organized rows of plants, where the seedlings already debuffs for stamina, attack, and health, reflecting that he boosts his strength with nutrition instead of heavy training, bummed out that only his specific plants have these special effects, deciding to plant normal veggies around them to hide his little secrets. One day later, the greenhouse is already surrounded by a decoy crop, using a shovel to dig up a bunch of potatoes from the rich dirt, showing how to use the tool to teach his summoned minions. Satisfied noticing the lackey's work sped up the harvest a ton. Suddenly, he yells after seeing a minion do something totally unexpected, seeing a tiny blue energy lizard munching right on one of the potatoes. Confused, the MC steps closer while the critter stares back with a full mouth, with the system showing the undead lizard leveled up to 6, noticing the only difference between the monsters was eating that potato. Mind blown, wondering if his crops actually buff his undead minions. Over the next few days, Lin Feng starts running experiments on his servants. In the shadows, a spy watches the weird activity going down at the farm, mocking the glass setup and planning to smash it all with one hit, but hesitating when he sees the kid in the hammock, fearing a trap. Making up his mind, the shadow charges the greenhouse to start the attack, throwing a heavy punch that shatters the glass and scatters debris debris everywhere. Suddenly, a bomb potato with an angry face pops right into the hole. Then the potato blows up and he blocks the blast with his arms, confident, doubting that such basic defenses could actually stop him. Just then, a bunch more potatoes roll to his feet and start detonating, screaming in rage as he gets caught up in the chain of explosions, with the veggies triggering a massive chain reaction all over the place. Soon the smoke clears, showing the colorful trails from the blasts, and from the mist, a giant monstrous tree starts taking shape. Right behind it, a creature made of vines pops up with glowing eyes, with the towering figure of leaves and branches revealing itself to the intruder, radiating a purple and yellow light from its eyes, packed with mystic power. Knocked down and covered in dust, the spy curses the place's defenses, complaining he only came here to earn a Grand Duke's trust. Annoyed, threatening to slice the plant monster into tiny little pieces, charging in fast, slicing the creature's vines with razor-sharp blades. And mid-strike, he finds the mix of nature aura and dead energy super weird, remembering his orders to find the missing Heixiao somewhere in the city, suspecting betrayal, guessing that this spot is hiding the villain, muttering about Heixiao's absolute obsession with immortality tricks, deciding the search comes first and bolting away from the farm really fast, with the farm going back to being dead silent under the starry night sky. The next morning, the sun lights up the whole span of the property. With a hoe on his shoulder, the MC plans to finish tending the fields. Suddenly, a loud noise spooks him right in the middle of his morning chores, with the tool hitting something solid, making him look down, confused, and seeing the smashed greenhouse and wrecked dirt, screaming in pure despair. Then, a winged figure riding a dragon lands roughly right on the farm, looking up, trying to figure out why these people just showed up, realizing they're law enforcement and asking what the visit is all about, with the guards saying the scanner picked up a massive magic aura right there. Then an officer checks his device and sees the area actually has a tenant, but even with a lease, they suspect some kind of demonic activity is going on, greeting the guards and trying his best to act completely natural, stressing out internally over what the real point of this inspection is. Soon, the officer demands he open the barrier for a full search of the place, playing dumb and asking how there be magic in a brand new field. Outside, a guard complains about the farmer taking too long to let them in. Then, Hiro brings up Tuka's death and the evil energy detected nearby, with a harsh look accusing the MC of being a straight-up demon spy. Cornered and sweating cold, the kid realizes how dangerous this accusation is, with Hiro screaming at him to surrender right then and accept the arrest. Trying to smooth things over, his partner admits the kid looks shady after Tuka's death, politely asking the student to cooperate and open the barrier for the inspection. On the inside, our guy plans a way to shake off the investigators fast, playing the victim, crying that his humble class is never respected by the elites. Hearing that, the glasses officer feels bad, saying he looks pretty harmless. But Harry reacts with pure rage, refusing to fall for the kid's little act, claiming any good spy knows how to fake feelings to fool the law. Without warning, he phases through the barrier and punches the MC right in the face, creating a shockwave, but the one who ends up hurt is the officer's own fist. Meanwhile, the MC barely feels it and realizes his boosted physique is next level, with a clever look, deciding to act it out to keep his weak disguise going, leaving Harao shocked to see the kid alive, insisting he's hiding something evil. Fake crying, the MC asks if he's just forcing a confession to close the case. Then, the officer steps in, noting his magic is way too pure for a demon, apologizing to the kid and promising to clear his name in the mission report. Smiling, the guy praises the officer's integrity, who says he's just doing his job, while Hiro grinds his teeth in a silence full of hate over how this ended, trying to charge in again but getting held back by his very own teammate. Soon, the officers leave, finally giving the farmer a brief moment of peace. In silence, the MC processes the danger of the encounter and how fragile his peace is, watching the winged creatures in the sky and thinking about the threats all around him, concluding that just farming isn't enough, he needs real power to protect himself. Then, a magic peeper crane flies over bringing a brand new summons from the academy, ordering him to head to the training grounds for a freshman battle test, complaining about how hard it is to live a quiet life as the paper crumbles in his hands. Far away, the director and the Archmage Vela watch the glow of the kid's magic, with Vela questioning his class, and the director confirming he's a farm master, joking around, asking if even a level 50 Archmage got impressed by him, noting that his bright green glow already rules out any ties to the demons. And the director agrees, but warns that the real show is about to start right now. Then, the green energy covering the field starts fading softly into the air, leaving only tiny trails of light floating under the city's bright blue sky. Back at the field, freshmen complain about having to take yet another skill test. Since a lot of them thought classes in cultivation would start right after interviews, one student even tries to brag he knows why, but keeps it a total secret from the rest. Then the instructor demands silence and explains how bad the front lines actually are, revealing that demon attacks spiked and a major fortress is about to fall, making the students panic when they realize they might go to war way too soon, with the woman stressing the crisis is real and the draft is mandatory for everyone. Meanwhile, Ailing and her brother watch the crowd, looking super worried about the future. But amidst the chaos, the MC keeps a really calm and confident posture. Ailing tries to calm him down, worried his talent will put him right on the front lines. Soon the order drops for everyone to start the live combat test right on the field, and our MC hopes his class gets in out of the war, fearing for his peaceful plans. Then, a girl taunts him, challenging the farm master who knows how to dodge. With sexy gestures and a ton of confidence, she conjures flames to burn the guy, dodging effortlessly and mocking how slow and weak her fire actually is. Furious, she starts a complex spell to summon a full-blown flame spirit, with the young guy watching patiently while she chants the crazy long magic ritual. Complaining it takes too long, he interrupts her with a quick strike before it ends, beating her with a single hit, and the system immediately announces his win. Topping the leaderboard, the kid even considers losing on purpose so he doesn't stand out. Then, Archmage Vela approaches him, praising his awesome potential to level up. Curious, the young guy asks what this higher level of recognition actually means, explaining he could ascend to the sun wheel and score some legendary items. Looking at the dragons in the sky, he thanks her, but says he doesn't need that stuff, leaving Vela totally intrigued, asking what his true desires really are. Giving a simple answer, he just wants better land to farm in complete peace. Smiling, she clarifies she means his ultimate goal after the harvests are done, with the MC planning to expand the farm to create jobs, getting called overly ambitious. Then the director steps in, asking if his current plot isn't enough for him already. With a smirk, the kid claims that in farming, the more land, the better. Soon he gets called to fight Ailing, turning around hyped for the next duel, with the director noting his honesty, and Vela suggesting they give him what he wants. Then he asks if the Archmage is planning to take the kid on as her student. With an interested look, she comments that the boy is a truly fascinating kid. In the arena, Ailing admits she didn't expect to fight him this early on. Determined, the girl warns him she won't go easy on him during the fight, and he smiles, confessing he was going to surrender thinking he couldn't win. Offended by his fake modesty, Ailing charges forward furiously for the attack, complaining that his opponent started using high-level skills right off the bat. With a quick command, he makes green vines burst straight out of the ground, leaving Ailing completely trapped by the vines wrapping fast around her body. But with a precise strike from her weapon, she manages to break free from the vines, impressing our MC with the girl's pure magic power during the fierce battle. Far away, Vela claims his magic beats even that of level 80 masters, with the director agreeing and Vela deciding that he is going to be her master, praising her initiative, thinking she wants to be the kid's new instructor. But she corrects him, saying she wants to be the guy's disciple, not the other way around, leaving the director totally shocked, asking if she finally lost her mind. With glowing eyes, Vela insists on her desire to learn from the humble farmer. In the arena, the freshman fight gets way more intense and super loud, with the two trading heavy hits that echo through the entire hall, until our MC decides he's shown too much strength and looks for a chance to throw the match. However, the instructor threatens to take his land back if he keeps holding back. Then the kid recognizes the voice of the guy who tested him before and goes on high alert. Determined to keep his farm, he yells that nobody is touching his land, with Ailing noticing the shift in the kid's aura, realizing he's fighting for real now, focusing an insane amount of green energy right in the palms of his hands. And Ailing reacts by covering herself in intense flames to prep a counterattack, firing a massive fireball straight at the main guy. With an agile move, he dodges and easily brushes off the fiery attack, charging in and hitting the girl with a punch completely charged with nature energy, leaving Ailing paralyzed by the brutal force of that single heavy hit. With a smile, he thanks the girl for letting him get the win, making the students wonder if he was hiding his true power the entire time, while Vela watches in awe at his instinctive control over the forces of nature. Declared the winner, reaching out a hand to help Ailing get back up, and she takes it, admitting she's totally convinced he's way out of her league. Acting modest, the kid says she's the strong one and he just used raw brute force. The kid's humility and power leave a deep impression on everyone there. In chibi form, he puts a hand to his face, feeling massively relieved. thinking about almost losing his land, while the chibi director congratulates him, thanking the director's kindness, who encourages him to keep growing. Annoyed, holding a grudge against the old man who used his land as blackmail, doubling down on the thought, still super ticked off about the threat to his farm. Leaving the place, he feels something tap him lightly to get his attention. Turning around and finding Vela, now wearing some comfy casual clothes. The Archmage steps up and, surprisingly, asks him to guide her cultivation. Confused, asking why an elite warrior would want advice from him, Vela explains she loved the vitality of the kid's magic and is looking for inspiration. Trying to decline, suggesting she wait for the instructors at the warfront, but she insists, just asking to watch the field and learn from his aura, begging to help with chores, but the MC worries she'll see his secrets, claiming he's only physically strong and doesn't have fighting techniques to teach. Soon, the director steps in and asks the kid to accept, given how pushy she is, whispering something in the MC's ear, who initially hesitates about the idea. After hearing the details, the kid changes his mind and agrees with the Archmage, thanking him excitedly, promising to be low-key and not get in the way of his work, wanting to go to the field right away, so he points out the location in the west. Out in the field, Chibi Vela offers to help, but he needs to keep her away from the greenhouse, asking her to take care of the outside while he focuses on the special seedlings. Then, Vela notices the plants there have stat buffs and totally pure magic. With a curious smile, she admits the kid is becoming a bigger mystery every second, crouching down and grabbing a handful of dirt to check out the soil's makeup. Finding the results unbelievable, hurrying right over to the young guy, asking if he really grew all that in such common and poor quality dirt. Shocked when he confirms it, asking why he isn't using any expensive fertilizers, explaining his tight budget doesn't allow for luxuries like crystal powder, pointing at some wilted plants, complaining they're malnourished because he's broke. Blown away by his natural talent, Vela decides to make things easier for him, revealing the academy actually trades dungeon boss items for farm resources, instantly hyping the kid up when he finds out about this trade option. She mentions the Earth Pulse item can be farmed in the level 10 dungeon, also mentioning that this trading rule is almost entirely scrapped by the school. Wasting no time, the MC decides to go grab that rare material right now, watching him leave and admiring the pure spirit that fuels his nature magic. Arriving at the entrance of the dangerous level 10 Deep Shadow Woods, veterans mock him, doubting a level 8 farmer could survive going solo, ignoring their laughs and asking the instructor to enter the dungeon by himself. The guard warns him about the extreme risk of soloing a higher level area, shutting up abruptly when he notices Vela's silent presence right there. With a subtle gesture, she asks the man not to interfere with the kid's choice, granting access, but the instructor insists he should fall back if it gets too dicey. Students around him call him cannon fodder and totally mock his bravery, saying he's an embarrassment and probably won't even make it back alive. Once inside, surrounded by wolves, ordering his minions to clear the path, Yu jumps into action, using his powers to paralyze and hold the beasts down. Hei Shou charges in right after, shredding the whole pack with lethal strikes. Using his necromancy, the MC orders the dead wolves to become his new soldiers, and a window pops up announcing a new minion, the Undead Kobold. Reaching the level 12 Fallen Shadow Kobold boss, completely unimpressed. Yawning from pure boredom, the kid orders his minions to just start attacking. The monster raises its heavy weapon, prepping a really violent counterattack. Then, one of the purple energy wolves leaps straight at the dungeon leader. The clash between the two creates a massive impact of magic energy in the hall, having the rest of the lackeys join the brawl, turning the fight into total chaos. Taking down the boss, the MC hits level 9 and gets the boss fang. The system detects the body, but the MC's level is too low to convert it. Bummed about not getting the boss as a minion, but glad he finished the mission, checking out the boss fang that glows with an intense blue aura. Hyped, celebrating his success and heading back to trade the item for fertilizer, using the return portal to get out of the depths of that dark dungeon. Outside, Vela asks the instructor if the trade is even possible during the crisis. The guard confirms that since it's fertilizer and not a war item, they have stock. Then, an alert announces the new record and the heroic soul fragment reward, shocking the crowd, who accuses the kid of cheating for getting a legendary item, with the haters demanding an investigation and the confiscation of the rare fragment. Surprising Vela, who didn't expect such a perfect run on his very first try, watching the mess and hostility starting to build up all around the guy. Surrounded by masked guys, the kid wonders who he managed to tick off this time. With no escape routes, getting totally cornered by the aggressive protesters, facing the group head-on, staying completely calm despite all the heavy pressure, trying to make the trade, but a man interrupts, demanding he hand over the goods. The instructor defends the MC, stating the academy does not confiscate prizes, and the accuser proposes a resource bet to prove the MC doesn't deserve it. Determined, pushing for the bet to totally expose the young farmer, but the kid tells Vela he thinks the idea is boring and sees no point in accepting. Upping the stakes, the man offers the blueprint for the nature lamp. Yahello pops up and whispers that he needs to accept because the blueprint is vital, stressing how super important the item is and completely changing his master's stance. Then, the rival calls him a hillbilly and asks if he's going to run from the challenge. In a flashback, the man was ordered to use the lamp as bait for Harrow. Messages show he was forced into betting his family's actual treasure. With a confident smirk, the main guy finally accepts the crazy duel. Decision made, steering down his opponent ready for the upcoming clash. Cutting to the inside of the Shadow Woods, showing a massive energy portal, where the instructor and the rival doubt the kid actually cleared it solo. The stage's difficulty makes everyone wonder how a level 9 could even win. Reviewing the moment the kid unleashes his aura and summons his tenants, a giant silhouette starts emerging from the shadows right behind the young master. The colossal green minion fully appears, radiating an absolutely crushing force. Seeing the recording of the giant hand, the instructor gets how he won the dungeon. In the past, the MC orders a total massacre while wrapped in green energy, with the horde of shadow wolves charging with pure ferocity right at him. The beasts run in a pack, perfectly coordinated to tear the intruder apart, but Lin Feng's summon collides with the pack, causing a massive explosion. The blast's glow lights up the whole cave, showing off the farmer's power. Heavy combat sounds echo as the two forces violently clash against each other. A brutal battle, with the summons completely slaughtering the dungeon monsters. Unleashing an energy so powerful it creates a massive shockwave in the area, shocking the instructor by wiping out same-level kobolds in less than a minute, with the destruction continuing ruthlessly and rocks flying all over the place. Watching the recording super tense, Kiru is actually really impressed by what he sees. Right after, a portal opens up, pointing the way to the very next area. Then, the kid says on the tape he's heading to the boss room, shocking his rival. Fearing that power and wondering if it all comes from the MC's special class. In the replay, the dungeon boss, a giant creature, appears right before the kid, staring down the main guy and getting ready for an absolute deathmatch. Without hesitating, the summoned minion lands a direct hit on the big monster, catching the creature completely off guard with the sheer force of the strike, leaving the boss no time to react to the overwhelming power of the green summon, firing an energy sphere that completely swallows the enemy whole, being such a devastating hit that it takes the big monster down in one single go. Seeing that, the instructor yells that this power needs to be reported to the director. Back in the present, the boss's body hits the floor while the aura fades away. With the creature defeated, the kid turns around and faces the master. Smiling, the MC asks if he's proven his worth and the man totally confirms it, stressing there's nothing left to question since he completely proved himself. So, the kid asks to look around the stage and the master warns it resets in 30 minutes. All alone, the MC walks up to the body to test out his brand new power level, touching the monster's head while an intense purple energy wraps around them. With a determined look, ordering out loud for the dead creature to rise up, showing his clear intention to reanimate the boss as his brand new lackey. Then, a giant shadow with a purple aura emerges from the beast's lifeless body, raising the new summon, a dark and powerful version of the defeated boss. Satisfied, the kid walks casually right toward the dungeon's exit portal. Outside, the crowd calls him a beast and the rivals run away scared of payback, explaining the rival fled as soon as the supervisor testified in the MC's favor, concluding that, on behalf of the extraordinaries, the master proved his real worth, staring at the horizon with a serious look, processing all the recent events. And Yahello pops up right behind him, curious, looking in the exact same direction, telling him that after the official testimony, the accuser admitted he was wrong and bailed. In a flashback, the instructor hands the memory stone with the recording to the servant. Happy with his prize, the kid holds the fertilizer and celebrates his big win, with the recording being his saving grace, showing the truth about his solo victory. In his room, Haru punches a heavy bag with the MC's photo, furious and humiliated, taking his hate out on his training while a follower watches him in complete silence. With disgust, saying the farmer only shows off because of his nature summons, writing a letter and ordering immediate delivery to his uncle, the Count, at the front, ordering the veteran nature instructors to come back to the school right away, asking if the plan is to use those masters to completely suppress the Nube, and Hiru confirms it, betting the conservatives will straight up punish Lin Feng, wanting to see if the little MC stays cocky when dealing with the Academy's old-timers. Somewhere else, Bella watches the tape completely amazed by the kid's natural instinct, deciding not to wait and writing for the old fossils to come back back at that exact moment, determined to rush the instructors but with totally opposite intentions from Haru. For several days, the kid practically lives in the dungeon training with the giant wolf, spending so much time in there that the narrator says Lin Fang lives in the dungeon now, with the routine of clearing the dungeon repeatedly making him noticeably way stronger, thus dominating the leaderboard with insane times of 10 minutes and 30 seconds, making students comment that he treats the dungeon like his own personal backyard. And a group watches bored, saying watching this farm is worse than watching grass grow, popping back up at the counter and handing boxes of fangs to Brother Chen for fertilizer. Then the instructor tells him he has enough credits to try for the academy promotion, getting confused and asking what exactly this upper academy is all about. So, Chen explains the Sun Wheel is the upper one and gathers the elite from all the others, pointing out that in the Sun Wheel, the trade items are of way higher quality, leaving the young guy deep in thought processing the new chances for growth. With a smile, realizing it's a huge opportunity and thanking the master for his advice. Wasting no time, heading straight over to the academy's mission hall, requesting the promotion while the receptionist asks for his details and credits, promptly handing over the proof and showing off just how efficient his farming is, with his profile glowing on the screen confirming his affiliation to the Storm Academy, shocking the line with his 30,000 credits as the crazy guy from the Shadow Woods. Then, the girl validates his points and hands over the scroll with the official mission. Without beating around the bush, he asks if the promo unlocks gold tier supply trades, confirming access to gold and platinum items, leaving the kid totally satisfied. Noticing the mission is near his farm but deciding to pick something up before going. So, the young guy heads over to a workshop to pick up a very special order, getting the nature lamp from a veteran who warns him about death energy. Smiling and thanking him, he grabs the silver tier artifact with extreme care, once alone, acting super cautious and looking around to make sure nobody sees him, thinking about the warning to keep the lamp far away from necrotic energy, but his instinct tells him to do the exact opposite of what was recommended, channeling necrotic energy into the item, which starts glowing with a creepy purple light, with darkness wrapping the object and a giant spectral skull popping up on it. Shocked, seeing the artifact change into an undead type instantly. And, all around, the plants start sprouting and moving, gaining a life of their own. Crouching down, quickly hiding the modded item right in the local vegetation. Relieved he can revert the lamp to its original form using his spiritual connection. Back at the farm, he gets ready to test the artifact's true potential. Shirtless, raising the nature lamp and unleashing a wave of power over the field, making the object glow intensely while he watches with a towel over his shoulders. With the crops growing at an insane speed right before his very eyes. Impressed, he concludes the lamp's power is absolutely terrifying and essential. Super hyped, he decides to finish the mission fast to get more items on that level. Determined, running to the test site wrapped in a mystic blue and purple aura. Then, a scout lackey spots a weird presence and goes on high alert, with the dragon-like creature carrying the lamp to help out with the exploration. Arriving at the mission site, an abandoned, ruined tower right on the city's edge, confirming the exact location of the tower using a cool holographic map, deciding to play it safe since visibility is super low and demands extra attention. On the ground, he quickly notices fresh footprints and realizes he's not alone, going on guard and wondering who else would care about such an isolated place. Crouched and suspicious, scanning every detail of the environment to avoid surprises. Nearby, Haru's thugs plan to sabotage the mission by stealing the item before the MC, suggesting they burn the objective to guarantee the newbie fails his test. With an evil smirk, believing the plan is foolproof and the kid is going to fail. But to the duo's shock, the MC suddenly pops up holding the mission book. Smiling sarcastically, the young guy asks if he should thank them for helping out. Panicking, the thugs start arguing and blaming each other for messing up the plan. Desperate, one of them yells at his partner to get the item back, no matter the cost. Without hesitating, the duo charges the main guy to try and take the book by force. But the kid simply raises his hands, calmly prepping his own counterattack. With a gesture, making energy blades burst straight out of the ground at his attackers, being razor-sharp plants, completely trapping and pinning the two of them down, leaving the thugs hanging upside down, while the MC demands a straight explanation, with an intimidating look, asking if they don't agree to just tell him the truth. At sunset, already back at the farm, thinking seriously about what just went down. Clenching his fist, remembering the confession that Hiro sent those saboteurs. Annoyed, realizing his rival won't quit and his big secret is at serious risk. Looking visibly worried, needing a solution so he doesn't end up exposed. At the farm, noticing farming got automated with the golem using the lamp, with smaller scorpion-like lackeys taking care of the soil maintenance. Confused, the young guy scratches his head, wondering how they got so efficient. With a surprised smile, realizing that his production is totally independent now. In Hiro's room, a thug reports the men vanished and only traces were left behind. Furious about the likely death of his minions, the villain smashes an object on the wall, ranting about how incompetent his men are for not being able to handle a farmer. With a look of pure hate, muttering Lin Feng's name with an absolute thirst for revenge. Lighting a cigarette, growling that the newbie crossed the line by wiping out the squad. Ordering contact with Shadow Erosion, offering a total fortune for the MC's head. Somewhere else, a dark, scarred man ties Lin Feng right to Tuka's death. In the mission hall, the main guy finally wraps up his promotion process, getting congratulated for entering the Sunwheel, the elite of the whole institution, with the officer handing over the new uniform and his shiny veteran status badge. Excited, the MC plans to hoard more credits to invest heavily in his crops. Heading back to the Shadow Woods dungeon, planning to farm resources just like before, with his new badge shining, getting ready for yet another crazy training streak. But when he asks to go in, the instructor stops him, saying he doesn't have permission, getting confused, not getting why his entry was suddenly banned out of nowhere. Then, Avad explains that Sunwheel students can't enter lower-tier dungeons. Shocked and frustrated, the MC mourns losing his quick and easy farming spot. Meanwhile, the instructor sighs in relief, thinking the academy stock is finally safe. Annoyed his route got cut off, the young guy wonders how he'll get new credits now. Then, someone walks up and calls him by name, knowing he's freshly promoted. The guy introduces himself as Ron and asks if he's having trouble finding missions, inviting him to a group gathering quest, but the MC is suspicious of the perfect timing, suggesting it's a great chance for him to get to know the higher tier dungeons. Needing the supplies and knowledge, the kid accepts the supposedly simple task, agreeing to team up with Ron's squad for the upcoming gathering expedition. Smiling, Ron rushes the young guy, saying the team is already waiting at the entrance. Soon, a grand portal appears, surrounded by an architecture of trees and crystals, introducing the members, short-haired Yubei, and the absolute meathead Carter, with Yubei acting serious and Carter being grumpy, forming a highly experienced squad. The goal is to collect 10 units of moonlight grass while avoiding dark elves, crossing the portal and starting their infiltration into the dungeon's dense forests. In the dark depths, the team moves forward with extreme caution through the brush, spotting the moonlight grass with its white flowers giving off a mystic glow. Holding the plants, Ron breathes a sigh of relief, commenting the mission was super easy. But a shadow moves super fast through a stone archway right in front of the group. Dark elves surround the team, and Ron orders everyone to get ready for combat. An elf with moth features on red eyes channels a ridiculously dense dark energy, firing blasts of purple power straight at the students, kicking off the offensive. Stepping up, Carter blocks and slices the energy beams with a single solid move, with Ron calling the formation and asking for nature magic to stun the elves. With a calm look, the young guy confirms he'll handle all the distraction in the fight, reaching out his hand and making roots and vines burst furiously out of the ground, with the magical vines slithering and completely pinning down one of the elf warriors, adjusting his arm wraps and getting ready for a direct clash against the rest of them, turning the forest into a total war zone with magic explosions going off everywhere. Then Ron joins the brawl, dealing heavy hits to carve a path through their enemies. Spotting reinforcements, he calls for Carter and Yubei to execute their very next move, with Yubei looking grim, declaring that the exact moment to strike has finally arrived, and Carter, the meathead, just mutters a really short confirmation before launching his attack, slamming the ground with his stone totem and unleashing a massive seismic force, ripping open a massive gap, leaving the MC completely stranded at the monster's mercy. Hanging over the abyss by one single hand, the young guy struggles not to fall in, watching Yubei retreat and asking why the hell they're leaving a teammate behind. But Ron fakes feeling bad about the accident, claiming Carter can't control his power. Looking serious, the guy asks if they're actually not going to help him up at all, and Ron just mocks him, saying his death is just the mistake of an arrogant newbie. Looking bored, the MC asks if they aren't scared of the consequences for a straight-up murder. Rod explains they'll fake his death by framing the monster's unique magic signature. Touching his chin, the kid wonders if the actual truth could ever bubble up to the surface, guaranteeing they're pros at this, while the young guy says he fully understands now. Without hesitating, the MC lets go of the edge and drops willingly right into the abyss, falling into the darkness with his hands in his pockets, keeping a really disturbing calm, making Ron laugh, thinking the newbie just gave up on life to avoid the extra suffering. But the traitor's smile vanishes completely when he sees the kid stop right in midair, floating there wrapped in shadows. The guy asks if they're ready for what comes next, challenging them to face his massive, overwhelming legion of dark creatures. Panic completely takes over the traitors, who realize the fatal mistake they just made, with the shadow army popping up and leaving the three shady partners in total shock. And the tower golem, now an undead minion, gets fully ready for an absolute massacre. One single strike from the creature triggers a blast that wipes the elves right out of the area, making Ron stutter in absolute terror seeing that the little farmer is actually a necromancer. With an ice-cold stare, the main guy asks if those are supposed to be his last words. Desperate, Ron tries to throw all the blame on Hiru and begs the kid for mercy, but the MC cuts him off, stating his so-called regret is just pure fear of dying. Crouched in front of the traitor, the young guy asks who this Tuka guy really is, and fear completely paralyzes Ron, who can't even give a straight answer to the master. Out of patience for lame excuses, the kid orders his lackeys to just bury the traitors. Then the golem attacks again and completely wipes the squad out with a final explosion. In his final moments, Ron curses the guy, wishing a truly terrible fate upon him. With crossed arms, the MC shoots back that their suffering is just getting started, walking up to Ron's remains and using his power to command the guy to rise up, being reanimated as straight-up minions and joining his massive legion of shadows, with the young guy wondering if human-based undead actually keep more of their mind. Noticing the elf's strong magic, he figures he needs to report his allies' deaths, with the threat handled, heading to the dungeon exit to wrap up the mission. But a mystic barrier blocks the way, leaving the kid pretty puzzled, touching the invisible seal, trying to figure out what kind of restriction is set there. Then the system warns the exit only opens with a full clear, but his stats just doubled. Soon, a dark mist creeps in, and shadowy figures materialize between the trees, with the sound of heavy hooves echoing, announcing a massive and fast presence. Watching everything in shock, the MC feels the pressure from the brand new enemy, being an armored knight out for revenge for Tuka, showing up under purple lightning. Then, the executioner charges with his spear ready, tearing through the brush with fury. Regaining his composure, the kid faces the attack without showing any fear at all. Smirking, he sizes up his opponent while his shadows prep the counterattack, commanding the offensive and sending his undead legions straight at the knight, with Ron's shadow charging furiously, trying to slice the enemy up with its claws. Ramping up the fight as purple energy clashes light up the entire forest. Meanwhile, the lackey Carter uses his power to raise a shield and block the steed, creating a massive shockwave on impact, shaking the dungeon's very ground, stopping the knight dead in his tracks, with the horse neighing under the shadow's pressure. Taking advantage of the opening, Heishia delivers a devastating kick to the enemy's defenses, while Ubei's summon keeps her distance, firing off arrows of pure necrotic power, with lethal and precise shots hitting right through the gaps in the warrior's armor. Riddled with shadow arrows, the knight staggers under the endless bombardment. Eating a banana calmly, the MC notices the minions' teamwork but feels something is missing. Soon, Ron's shadow condenses a huge energy sphere and hurls it at the wounded target. Wounded and shocked, the knight yells, seeing that the young guy mastered the death arts. Ignoring the enemy's screams, the kid focuses completely on wrapping up the fight, sarcastic and surrounded by flowers, suggesting the opponent just accept his fate. At the master's request, the minion Tuka pierces the knight's chest, sealing his fate, making the enemy fall to his knees, defeated and pierced by multiple energy spears, with the knight's body turning into mist, releasing his essence right into the air. Then, a scream warns that half the dungeon is cleared and the challenge still continues. Realizing it's a double boss dungeon, understanding he needs to push through the woods. Reaching the center of the forest, a place full of giant glowing mushrooms, jumping skillfully across the purple mushrooms, heading toward the energy signal. Suddenly, he stops moving, feeling a super powerful presence lurking right there. Seeing an arena appear with an old clock and an oppressive purple aura, being Savis, the level 18 guardian, showing up with an ice-cold glare at the intruder, questioning the invasion. But the MC says he only talks if she actually knows how to fight, with the system pointing out Savis as the second and final boss of the expedition. Then, the guardian sets her hands on purple fire, getting ready to toast the intruder, turning the battlefield red, full of floating orbs giving off surreal heat, activating the spore field, which drains life but totally regenerates the kid's shadows. Smiling when he notices that, right there, his minions have infinite energy for the fight, satisfied with the activated item's advantage, getting ready for the end of the combat, with a quick gesture, ordering his legion to crush the guardian without any mercy. Outside, the villains celebrate, thinking the lockdown will definitely kill the young guy. The boss laughs, certain that not even the stat buff will save the farmer from Savis, savoring the supposed victory and the imminent humiliation of our main guy. Back in the arena, a blinding explosion of light marks the climax of the whole clash, ending with Savis on her knees, surrendering to the crushing force of the Shadow Legion. Eating a banana, the young guy watches it all bored, like a rerun of a commercial, keeping the boss pinned to the ground by the tower golem, with zero chance of escape. Humiliated, Savis glares at Heishia with hate and asks why he betrayed his own race, bringing a flashback of Heishia turning into our MC's ultimate elite servant. Furious, she screams that he destroyed her nest and that, for such massive audacity, she would hunt him relentlessly, no matter where the heck he tried to hide. After the threat, the Guardian's body shatters into a bunch of lifeless stones. Then, a pillar of light comes down from the sky, signaling the end of the purification, with the system confirming the dungeon cleared in just over 2 hours at rank A. Smirking, the guy feels the experience roll in and notices he's getting way stronger, spawning a massive purple egg pulsing with a sinister aura as the final reward. Curious, our boy walks up to check out that completely bizarre-looking item, with the screen showing it's the primordial demon embryo with an affinity of 30. Intrigued, trying to figure out the importance of that egg in the nest the boss mentioned, so he pulls out a large storage ring to safely put away his brand new prize, getting sucked into the ring in a purple whirlpool after a firm gesture from the kid, with a final screen warning that the barrier is gone and the exit is fully open, turning his back on the place, casually walking straight toward the blue portal. But first, he looks at Savis's remains to reanimate the level 18 boss, with a bold smile holding out his hand and ordering her to rise straight up, fusing the stones and reforming her body into an aggressive suit of dark armor, kneeling down as his new servant, with pink hair and a mystic lotus on her head, with glowing eyes, formally introducing herself as the absolute death executioner, leaving the MC mind-blown, unable to believe he just got a talking summon, asking if she actually has a conscience, but the lackey just repeats her own title, feeling kinda awkward with the stalled chat, trying to end the talk, but she insists, repeating the name all over again and making things super weird in the empty dungeon. Already losing his patience, the young guy orders her to stay absolutely quiet, finally walking right through the portal and respawning outside, wrapped in blue light, making the crowd of students scream in shock, thinking what he did was totally impossible, eyes wide open seeing the farmer alive from a place where even the elite never return. Running up to him, the instructor desperately asks about Ron, Carter, and Yubei. Looking serious, the MC makes up that they got ambushed and separated in the total chaos, acting really well, faking sadness and saying he only survived out of pure luck, with the instructor noticing the elves' magic on his clothes, buying the whole story, clenching his fist, mourning the loss of the students, and completely trusting the kid. From afar, the villain boils with rage seeing his target manage to escape completely unharmed. Then, a veteran steps up, asking if anything weird happened while they were inside, and the kid mentions it triggered the laments of the past right at the entrance. Freezing at the item's name, the instructor asks who would pull off such a sabotage. With an ice-cold stare, the MC scans the crowd looking for one specific face, spotting the jerk who activated the item to try and get him killed inside the dungeon. Sweating cold, the saboteur realizes the farmer knows exactly what he just did. Playing totally innocent, the MC yells out asking if there are any enemies nearby, lying about not knowing anyone, while the master promises a full-blown investigation. Getting a comforting pat, the kid says thanks while smiling to himself on the inside, leaving the saboteur in a complete panic, shaking as he notices the noose tightening around his neck, running away at top speed, feeling the image of Savis hunting him down like a total nightmare. Later on, the kid observes the primordial egg in the piece of his humble farm, noticing the weird egg started shaking as soon as it felt the soil of his farm, remembering Savis, wondering if the embryo was planted there just to be cultivated. Touching the egg, he notices both nature and death magic can totally influence it, getting shocked, since those two types of energy aren't even supposed to coexist, concluding that the embryo is just like him, bringing both forces right together. Confused, the young guy remembers he's human, but the item looks like a demonic creation, putting the object away, fully aware there's only one actual way to figure this out. All dressed up in a shirt and tie, getting ready to take some action, walking with a serious look, totally determined to unravel this big mystery, knocking on the director's office door, quickly getting permission to go right in. Sitting at his desk, the master asks the reason he's still awake so late at night, saying it's tough to explain. The MC places the egg right in front of the old man. Completely amazed, the director asks exactly where he managed to find that thing. Protected by a barrier, the kid explains the drop came from the forest boss, and goes on saying he thought it was common, but then noticed it was super special. Analyzing the egg, the master confirms it's the embryo of a primordial demon, getting furious seeing that the demons broke the rules just to cultivate that thing. Then our kid asks what exactly this kind of monster even is. The director explains they're beasts that eat humans to gain crazy spatial powers, showing several types of creatures like the surprisingly cute standard type 1, also showing off the menacing Type 4, a minotaur wielding a giant battle axe, besides the super powerful Bloodlair Lord, a truly imposing red dragon, explaining they use dungeons to plant seeds that get nourished by constant battles, and when the embryo matures, it breaks the dungeon and invades our reality. The master says this egg would have hatched in 6 months if it just stayed there, warning about the chaos, but finding it weird the item ended up with the kid of all people. Catching the hint about his aura, the young guy suddenly gets pretty tense. Smiling, the director stops teasing praising him and promises to respect all his secrets, but demanding a promise that he'll always fight on the side of humanity. Satisfied, the old man in chibi form gives the MC a few little pats on the head, handing over a tiny orange flag as a solid reward for his trouble, explaining it's a territory banner that creates a 500-meter barrier. Holding the item, the kid marvels at how useful this power will be for his farm. The master dismisses him, mentioning a freshman meetup happening in 3 days. With the banner in hand, the young guy deeply reflects on hybridization, wondering what would happen if he fused plants and undead together once and for all. The scene focuses on the farm, where all kinds of new ideas are about to roll out. Now he shows up watching everything right from the top of the roof, with his entire property stretching out all the way into the background. So, he plants the banner in the ground to fully activate it. A wave of green energy spreads out, boosting the nature magic around the whole place. In his room, he looks at the minions, noticing just how complex hybridization really is. Suddenly, his eyes lock on as he notices something super weird happening. Noticing that Savis is going through some kind of crazy transformation. Somewhere else, Hiru is chilling on the couch looking absolutely annoyed, yelling that his men are completely useless for failing to kill a simple newbie. Furious, he fears getting exposed for Chuka's death and decides not to wait anymore. Getting up super fast, he walks right over to a hidden secret door, starting to head down a really dark and sinister looking staircase, reaching a dark sanctuary where a giant demon is just waiting for him. Using a dagger, he cuts his own hand to kick off the dark ritual, with his blood dripping onto the floor in a totally obscure way. An imposing voice asks why he's bothering him, and the demon fully reveals itself. Hiru asks Guladosa for guidance on how to completely wipe out Lin Feng. Guladosa says he'll punish anyone who defies fate and will send an executioner. Worried, the servant says thanks, begging him to make it as quick as possible. But the Demon King attacks him, ordering him to never give him commands, getting thrown backward by the absolute brutal force of the strike, taking a direct hit, causing some massive damage right on the spot. Then, he gets slammed into the floor, which instantly cracks wide open. Injured and with his clothes torn, he gets up blaming the MC for absolutely everything. Defeated, he sits on the floor, while Savis uses her powers right near her master. 3 days later, the freshman meetup kicks off at the academy. Wearing a suit and looking bored, the young guy regrets listening to the director, thinking it would be way better to just be at the farm doing some research. Suddenly, a blonde guy walks up to him asking if he's actually Lin Feng. The guy acts super friendly, trying his best to strike up a conversation. Eating a little bun, our hero just stares back at him with zero interest. Smiling, the blonde asks for tips on how to clear out the forest all by himself, looking genuinely impressed with the crazy feat the farmer managed to pull off. Faking tears, the MC says he really doesn't want to talk about the veterans' deaths. Feeling awkward, the blonde apologizes and slowly walks away from him. Far away, he thinks with disgust that Guladosa's target is actually super weak. The guy walks off under the MC's completely focused and serious stare, looking thoughtful and getting super suspicious about that guy's real intentions. In his room, Hiru relaxes shirtless, totally unaware of the danger heading his way, thinking everyone got notified but still feeling a weird sense of restlessness. Then, a purple shadow flies by, and a voice says he's totally right to be afraid. Scared, Hiru yells out, asking who the hell just broke into his room. The MC shows up in a suit with Savis and her giant scythe right behind him. Smiling, the young guy raises a finger, asking if he happens to be number 1. Firu confirms it, confused, and the kid preps a brightly glowing attack, landing a devastating punch, screaming that he's put up with his crap for too long, with the impact launching the villain right through the wall of the bedroom, laying there, barely able to even mumble a word from the massive shock, getting up with a lot of trouble while radiating a super intense purple energy. Amazed, he questions how the heck the farmer managed to get inside. With Savis by his side, the MC asks if the dungeon sabotage was actually his doing. Furious from getting beat down, Hiru gets up screaming with pure indignation. A dark aura completely wraps around him as he gets ready for the fight. Covered in his own blood, he straight up activates the blood sacrifice, with his body changing and the purple energy totally taking over the whole room. Surprised, the MC notices the technique and accuses him of being a spy. Laughing, Hiru reveals he's been a follower of Guladosa since the very beginning. Shocked, the young guy realizes his deep connection with the absolute Demon King. With pure hate, the traitor totally freaks out hearing his master's name, charging forward furiously, commanding the MC to just drop dead. Ready for the fight, Savis takes her position right next to her master. The two of them clash with claws and a scythe in a massive explosion of energy. Hiru's dark magic starts to slowly corrode Savis's giant weapon, delivering a super powerful strike, completely intensifying the creeping darkness. Savis is surprised, noticing the really strong corrosion from his heavy attack. Watching closely, the young guy notices the fight just turned into a huge problem. Glowing bright, Savas's scythe starts to rapidly regenerate itself. In demonic form, Haru screams that his rival came here just to meet his death. With his hand glowing, the kid gets ready to launch his heavy counterattack, thinking that the only real option here is to take him out as fast as possible. The MC charges in, landing a blue energy punch right into Haru's stomach. The hit is so strong that the villain goes flying backward on the spot. With one single move, the guy summons his entire undead legion. Mocking him, Haru accuses him of being super sketchy for using undead minions, and cries saying Tuka's death somehow attracted a human genius. But all of a sudden, a summon attacks the traitor right from behind, piercing straight through Haru's chest with a perfectly aimed, deadly strike. Laying there, Haru stares at the young guy, asking if he's the one who killed Tuka, starting a crazy ritual, reciting that his blood will act as the catalyst. With glowing red eyes, he calls for his master's will to descend right there, summoning Guladosa, and a massive burst of energy explodes straight from his chest. A demonic figure materializes and Haru drops to his knees immediately, but Guladosa punches him, saying a mere insect shouldn't even say his name. Shocked and hurt, Haru barely mumbles, calling out for his Dark Lord. With his arms crossed, the kid orders his lackeys to just kill the demon. The Legion charges in with everything they've got to completely obliterate Guladosa. The army attacks, and a massive purple and blue explosion takes over the whole place. The Demon King spots the MC as a necromancer, finally understanding Heishia's death. Guladosa and the minions clash in an intense battle of absolute pure energy. Noticing the barrier is weak because of the master's severe lack of mana, one of Guladosa's servants directly attacks Haru's battered body. Haru screams in pure agony while getting completely disintegrated by the magic, with Guladosa ruthlessly absorbing the remaining power from his very own servant. Then he grabs one of the lackeys and hurls him away with massive force. The body gets thrown super far, proving the absolute power of the Demon King. Looking serious, the young guy thinks fighting him head-on would be pure stupidity. Haru's body falls apart, leaving nothing but a glowing puddle of energy. A super dark energy starts manifesting right into a glowing magic circle. Smiling, the kid lets him know he just came up with a pretty good idea. Acting superior, Guladosa calls him a fool and asks why he didn't just run away. With his hand glowing, the MC orders a brand new attack from all his summons. Annoyed, Guladosa asks if this is just supposed to be some cheap little taunt, saying he'll do exactly what the kid wants, charging forward for the kill. To defend herself, Savas creates a massive wall of solid light. Then, the golem fires off several energy bubbles straight at the target. Guladosa destroys it all, asking how such weaklings ever managed to beat Heishio. With one strike, he disintegrates the lackeys, and the huge explosion just vanishes, grabbing the MC by the neck, giving him a chance for his very last words, lifting the kid up, calling him an absolutely pathetic successor. But the kid just smiles, replying that the demon is the one who doesn't get it, explaining he noticed the energy drain and the magic circle's critical weakness. The Demon King is totally surprised by how smart the young guy really is, concluding that his summoning still has some seriously heavy restrictions. He is completely right, leaving Guladosa even more impressed with him. Furious, the king swears he won't escape, vanishing into a burst of energy. The kid is left standing all alone in the middle of the completely wrecked place, with a confident smile, letting him know he'll be waiting for him. Outside, some guards hear the loud noise and go over to check it out. Hiding in the darkness, the young guy notices them getting closer to the scene. Thinking the situation just got way too complicated, he quickly bails out of there. At dawn, finally arriving back at his farm right outside the city limits, with his hand on his chest, noticing his magic is almost entirely depleted, reflecting that he'd be totally dead if he had lost that bet earlier. Walking through the farm, slowly recovering while thunder rumbles above. Suddenly, he hears a noise and calls out to see exactly who's there. Turning around and seeing the blonde guy from the freshman meetup crouching there, the assassin walks up looking super annoyed by the hiccup in his mission, unsheathing his sword and just keeping on talking like it's no big deal, acting sadistic, asking if the kid could just stand still and quietly die. Smirking, the MC reaches out his hand and calls for all his lackeys, but absolutely nothing happens and his hand just gives off a faint glow. Panicking, realizing that without any magic, he can't summon anyone at all. Staring at the assassin's reflection and fully realizing the immense danger, the blonde lunges in for the kill, while the young guy just waits with a smile. On the farm, the two face off right under the early morning light. Determined, the MC remembers that the lantern makes the dead way stronger, with the golem holding the item, totally ready to be used in battle. thinking that the lantern might actually be able to turn this whole game around, but realizing he doesn't have a single second left to pull that off. A plant creature straight up tells him to fall back immediately. The assassin attacks, and he barely manages to dodge the deadly strike. The blonde spins his sword around, prepping for yet another heavy blow. The kid jumps backward, narrowly dodging the incoming blade. Suddenly, something absolutely massive starts rising right out of the ground. A giant stinger emerges right out of the dirt below, and the assassin turns around, totally surprised by what he's looking at, getting hit hard by the stinger and getting launched super far away. Vines burst from the ground and trap the MC completely by surprise. Not understanding, he yells out asking what the heck that thing even is. A giant carnivorous plant pops up and stares right down at the blonde guy. Annoyed, the assassin calls the whole thing a pathetic, cheap trick, infusing his deadly sword with bright magic just to go on the attack, moving super fast, using his ridiculous-sounding sword-style technique, getting ready to slice the huge creature up with total confidence, slicing the massive plant right in half with his blazing fire sword, but getting completely surprised seeing the kid already running far away. In a flashback, the blonde runs while remembering his strict mission orders, totally determined to carry out the order no matter the cost. But Guladosa shows up and tells him to cancel the mission right now. Called Mo, the assassin protests, saying the target is absolutely key to their plan. Imposing, Guladosa asks if he seriously dares to question him. Intimidated, Mo drops straight to his knees on the spot. Guladosa hands over an item, ordering him to follow the mark to get the kill. The item is the Mark of Guladosa, a super dark dragon seal. Lowering his head, Mo accepts the order and takes the mark. At the farm, he sets the plants on fire, finding their origin pretty weird, and the flames cause a massive explosion, burning everything around. Surprised by the destructive power of his very own attack, with anger in his eyes, he reaches out calling the kid a traitor, creating flames in his hand, warning that the target won't escape easily, starting to sprint at top speed following the trail left behind. Then, the chase gets super intense all across the property, with the young guy running away while the assassin leaps with his sword ready, turning the whole scene into a deadly race between the two of them. Smiling victoriously, the blonde warns that the journey is totally over, raising his blade up high to deliver the final blow. Smirking, the MC agrees that everything is finally over. Then he reveals the bone lantern glowing in a bright yellow tone. Shocked, the blonde doubts he even has the magic for that item. With anger, the kid orders the object to light up right now, and the lantern glows green with the assassin trying to stop it. With yellow eyes, he looks completely determined to stop him. But with the item in hand, our hero gets ready to activate it. Then an energy barrier fully forms right around the farm, sprouting gigantic vines out of the ground super fast, with the kid activating the radiant form of the nature lamp, leaving the blonde amazed seeing all that power in action. Furious, he yells at the power while getting caught by the plants, and the force of the vegetation launches the assassin into the air, activating the Mark of Guladosa with the shadow-devouring attack, creating multiple shadow clones standing right on top of the vines. Soon, the clones charge straight at the young guy with the lantern. Surrounded, the MC unleashes a super powerful green wave, making a monstrous plant sprout up right by his side, spawning a creature with black hair and vines out of the plant, and the clones rush straight toward the brand new threat. But the giant defends easily, clashing the energies with massive force, shattering the entire ground from the impact of the heavy blows. With his hands glowing green, the giant preps the counterattack. With an ice-cold stare, the kid gives the order to kill, pointing right at the enemy, commanding his terrifying summon. Then, the giant charges in and grabs the screaming blonde guy. Panicking, the assassin tries to say they're actually on the same side, but the giant crushes him without mercy, splattering blood everywhere. With the villain's demonic energy finally starting to fade away, fallen down, the MC notices he completely lost his movement, feeling the heavy effects of the battle, becoming totally paralyzed. Exhausted and out of strength, he ends up passing out on the spot. Taking a deep breath, the plant giant catches his breath. Right after that, the creature begins to slowly transform, returning to the original form of Heishao, his loyal lackey. Now in his shadowy form, he starts to slowly fall apart, completely disintegrating into tiny particles of purple light. And the energy fades, with pure silence taking over the farm. Between green mountains, an army gets ready for the upcoming battle, raising up tall flags featuring the symbol of a lion, with silver knights escorting a very luxurious carriage. Inside, two men chat while they continue their long journey. Being a redhead warrior and a noble with a long beard, with a serious look, the noble watches the scenery through the window, ignoring the warrior who's just grumbling quietly to himself. Staying thoughtful, just staring right out of the vehicle, and the carriage enters the forest, right under a green energy. Now the two of them and a blue-haired girl are walking together, with the transport shaking hard after hitting a sudden bump. Even so, moving fast right across the open terrain, keeping their focus straight on the route of the trip. Through the window, a knight delivers a very important message, and the redhead listens to it all, looking completely bored. Dawn breaks at the farm, now covered in vines and battle leftovers, with the plants showing just how intense the combat really was. Led by the noble, the group arrives at the wrecked location. Everyone is amazed by the pure nature magic lingering in the air, with someone saying a power like that would make him boss instantly. Scanning the scene, another asks if they were fighting against demons. Then, the noble spots the lamp near the passed-out kid, concluding that he passed out from overloading the magic item. Placing his hand on the MC, he uses green magic to heal him. Floating in an ethereal space, the young guy is surrounded by lights. Touching the gentle energy, he realizes it's his very own power, feeling that very comforting and super familiar sensation. Then, the purple necromancer energy starts to manifest itself, wondering if that was actually his own dark power showing up. And the aura wraps around him, trying to regain its balance, feeling the intense energy flowing right through his entire body. Soon noticing that the necromancer's side is completely out of control. In a flash, the image of the primordial demon embryo pops up, with the dark energy gathering up and starting to take shape. Hei Xiao appears and the kid yells, asking if he wasn't dead, and the entity confirms that he did die in the previous battle. Smiling, he says he finally understood the true meaning of death. Then the dark energy starts circling right around the lackey, mixing blue and purple lights right there in that space, scaring the MC by grabbing him with absolute full force. Caught by the energy, the guy yells that the situation just got terrible, panicking, noticing that he can't break free at all. Laughing, the being warns he'll steal his body once he kills him, getting closer and stating he'll be reborn right in the real world. But all of a sudden, the entity takes a heavy hit to the head, getting completely stunned by the unexpected surprise attack, getting struck hard by a super strong burst of purple energy, with the huge impact throwing the enemy right to the side. In a powerful slap, the energy hits him right in the face, tossed with pure brutality, flying far away from the heavy impact. Backing away, holding his face in absolute pain. Annoyed, the monster growls right at the power of nature, grabbing the kid, trying to absorb him at all costs. Then, they both go flying far in a massive energy explosion, getting thrown away, with his body slowly putting itself back together, with tree silhouettes against the clear, early morning sky. Waking up hooked to medical gear, feeling like he barely escaped, realizing that a hidden He Xiao is a totally secret danger. Soon, the noble explains it's just magic exhaustion and mild shock, and mentions he detected the aura of a level 20 demon, lying on the stretcher, hearing that the operation was a total success. Sitting up on guard, staring right at the men around him, getting super suspicious about who these people actually are, with the strangers just keeping a close eye on the young guy. Calmly, the noble tells him there's no need to be nervous, saying his badge confirms he's actually from the Sunwheel. Then, the man shows off his very own ID badge, introducing himself as an instructor from the Extraordinary Academy. Getting up and greeting everyone with totally proper respect. Everyone is now in a very bright and spacious room. Then the redhead asks Master Seymour what exactly happened, and the noble explains the student killed an invading demon. With a serious look, the warrior says he understands the situation. Walking up to the bed, he says heroes rise up from the youth, staring closely at the kid with a lot of clear admiration. Suddenly, the redhead warrior looks completely in shock, looking at the sword on the floor, asking what died over there. With a calm voice, the noble asks what exactly is wrong, touching his shoulder, asking if he managed to figure something out. Annoyed, the redhead says demons in the rear guard is a total outrage. Soon, the master orders the kid brought in to talk to the director, giving the order seriously, showing that the matter is super grave. In the director's office, the noble and the kid wait for an answer, with the director promising 3 full patrol squads. Annoyed, the noble straight up grabs the director's collar, yelling that he only ever panics when he's under a threat. In chibi form, the director questions his usefulness around there. Feeling awkward with the scene, the kid covers his face with his hand. Then, the master asks for them to calm down in front of the student. Anne's and Noble complains about the lack of security and all the excuses. Looking at the MC, the old man praises his heroic deed, saying it's remarkable and offering up a heroic soul fragment, handing the super valuable item right into the kid's hands. Holding the fragment, the young guy asks what it actually does, and the director explains the item carries the sheer will of a hero. Soon, fusing 2 fragments together awakens a fighting spirit, explaining that the projection will fight even without the master's mana. Right away, the young guy pulls the other fragment out of his pocket, putting the pieces together, and they start glowing super intensely. A curved spear with a green aura spawns right out of nowhere, with a spirit showing tribal features just starting to appear, forming a super powerful warrior with a green and dark aura, slamming his heavy spear into the ground with extreme force. Kneeling down, he introduces himself to the kid as General Guan Yu. Shocked, the director wonders exactly who that being could be. Starting to flip through a history book looking for some info, confused, he questions why the hero isn't even in the records. Continuing the search without finding a single thing about Guan Yu. Then, the general stands up with a very noble expression, bowing down right in front of the MC, who's now in casual clothes, showing all the deep respect the servant has for his new master. And the kid returns the gesture out of respect for the two guys there. Walking right out of the director's office looking pretty thoughtful, Seymour tells Guo Ding they really should take the kid with them, praising his pure magic and predicting a super bright future for him. But the director cuts in, telling them to let the young guy decide. With a serious look, the kid shakes his head and totally refuses, thinking that he still feels way too weak at this very moment, reflecting that he lacks the sheer power to face really strong enemies. Walking along, he remembers the mission hall has some scrolls, and he's right, since there are plenty of tasks posted up there. Arriving at the hall, he notices rewards ranging from rank A to D. Checking out options, sees that C and D give pretty low returns now. A rank B wolf hunting mission asks for 5 level 15 people. Another rank A1 requires a rune master and 4 party members. Finding a rank B escort mission that pays out 100 merit points. Interested, he picks that exact escort run straight to the border, thinking about Iron Rock Town, a heavily fortified military base. Remembering the unique farming method for completely dry lands there. Smiling, he plans to learn the technique to use back on his farm, but notices he needs a fire user to tag along as his duo. Suddenly, he hears a girl loudly yelling about someone's guilt. Turning around, he bumps right into a very familiar-looking scene, recognizing Ailing and that blonde scammer girl from earlier. Ailing accuses the blonde of selling fake potions and goes on the attack, and the blonde demands gold items as compensation for the whole assault, with students mentioning that newbies always fall for this exact scam. Everyone watching the drama to see how it's all gonna play out. With hands on her hips, the blonde says the potion was already drunk. Annoyed, the pink mage gets completely ready for a heavy fight, wielding dual blades, staring down the scammer ready to throw down. Without fear, the blonde yells about using violence instead of pure reason. With his arms crossed, the kid watches everything chilling casually, sighing deeply, getting pretty bored with that entire scene. The scammer screams, saying the other girl bought it and now denies it, lying that she's actually being accused of stealing some materials. Then, our MC decides to walk right up to the loud group, and the blonde turns around, staring right straight at him. She quickly recognizes him, asking if he's from the Sunwheel, looking super surprised to actually bump into him right there. With his hand glowing green, the kid gets a spell totally ready, launching the magic at the blonde, who gets startled by the sudden attack, being shocked when she notices she didn't take any physical damage. And her expression is now just pure and absolute confusion. Holding an item, the MC says her whole scam is just disgusting. Annoyed, the blonde points at Ailing and complains about the veteran, furious, warning that the girl won't be nearly as lucky next time. With a serious look, the young guy tells her to hand over the bear's gallbladder, holding out his hand with the item and asking if it's the same one from before. And he's completely right, it's the exact same item as before. Then, Ailing says the item is hers, but it didn't help like she hoped, thanking him, while he asks for help finding a fire-type user. Then he stares at the girl and asks if she actually has that element, smiling when he realizes he just found the perfect partner for the mission, showing total satisfaction with his brand new lucky find. Right at the counter, the clerk confirms everything and hands over the manual, that book being the main object they actually need to escort safely, with the cover identifying the item as the Ancient Formation Manual. In a dark place, a man mourns the sudden deaths of Heroine Tuka. Then, a gigantic shadow begins to slowly hover right over him, warning the hooded guy that the Academy is still hunting for the killer. With white hair, the figure asks if he came here just for that, with a voice that sounds extremely cold and loaded with heavy threat. Furious, the man reminds him he supported him to get that exact position, yelling that he lost lands and power, demanding the promised backup, showing he's acting completely desperate for a concrete answer. But the figure blames the whole failure on his nephew's sheer incompetence, and a ghostly hand reaches out right into the middle of the darkness, where the hooded guy warns that Lord Guladosa only cares about results, making the threat against the man even more clear and super dangerous. Angry, he questions what else he should do under the old man's watch. Soon the shadow answers that it's his problem and demands absolute respect, staring down the man, warning that the nature folks definitely won't save him, making him grind his teeth with an expression of pure, deep hatred, getting furious but fully knowing he can't possibly react right now. Then the figure orders him to move the garrison away before the deadline, since the plan moved forward and he needs to do his part in the scheme. Frustrated and super angry, the man screams out a loud curse word, feeling completely and utterly powerless facing that entire situation. Already on the road to the city, the duo kicks off their escort journey, walking down a trail in the forest with Ailing sticking really close by. Suddenly, she notices some movement and turns her head in surprise, seeing a demonic wolf spawn right behind them ready to attack. Fast, Ailing draws her twin blades crackling with pure dark energy, jumping at the beast and delivering a nasty strike with her flaming weapons, pinning a wolf down with tentacles and finishing it off with pure skill. After winning, finding it super weird to bump into 3 monsters in 1 hour. Then, the MC stops walking and she asks what exactly is going on. Looking at the carcass, he explains the area was supposed to be patrolled, being super rare to find beasts like that so close to the main road, and Ailing agrees, remembering the 3 ambushes just from that morning, with a worried look, concluding that something is very wrong around there. Then, the MC crouches down in a crop field to fully investigate the area, using his nature magic and spreading glowing green energy all over the place. After analyzing the situation for a second, the young guy stands right up, informing her that the surrounding plants aren't sensing anything unusual. Determined, he says they better pick up the pace before it gets totally dark. So the two of them sprint at high speed, leaving bright trails of light. Arriving at the outskirts of Iron Rock Town, the famous city of gardens. Impressed with the architecture, the kid totally admires the terraces in chibi form, celebrating that he's gonna learn all their planting methods. But Ailing grabs him by the jacket and tells him to hold up a second. Already inside, noticing the silence is super weird for a massive fortress, so he instructs his partner to get ready to move forward very carefully, running with a lot of caution right between the heavy stone buildings. Suddenly, a soldier spots them and yells out that there are people over there. But right after that, a super pale hand touches the guard's shoulder. Watching the scene, the MC grimly warns that the guy is already totally dead. Ailing gets shocked seeing the bodies, stunned by the 3,000 casualties, with an expression of pure terror facing that entirely messed up situation. Peeking through a door, getting scared seeing a bunch of demons inside. Then the kid watches everything with a totally serious and focused look. Hiding, seeing the monsters doing a ritual around a glowing magic symbol. Ailing suggests luring the enemies out so he can totally destroy the altar, but he shoots down the idea seeing their level 35 demons, leaving the girl totally speechless, but with a very determined look on her face. Right at that moment, 2 purple energy spears shoot straight at them. Reacting instantly, the MC grabs Ailing and screams for her to move, pushing the girl just in time to dodge the massive explosion on the wall. Soon, the leader yells that there are intruders and orders them to be killed. Jumping in to attack, the creature warns that they definitely won't escape. The kid quickly shoves Ailing away to protect her from the heavy impact. A rain of purple projectiles falls, forcing a completely desperate dodge. Scared, Ailing curls up while a glowing blast scrapes right past her. But the MC loudly yells at her to be super careful out there, pulling the girl right by the arm, saving her from taking a direct hit. Managing to dodge and getting into a defensive pose right on the spot. After the scare, he keeps his face completely closed off and serious. And still in total shock, Ailing watches everything not knowing what to do. In chibi version, the two keep running straight away from the explosions, tossed by a heavy shockwave falling down with the demons closing in fast. Ailing tries to use magic, but her blade just gives off a super weak aura, getting surprised by the failure and letting out a loud gasp of shock. The MC tries to act but only makes a tiny green flame in his hand, realizing that the matrix completely sealed off magic in the forbidden area. Word when he notices that not even the heroic spirit can be summoned. The demon laughs, saying only their dark energy actually works in there, with the creepy creature slowly moving in for the absolute final attack. Without being able to use necromancy, the young guy decides they just gotta run. But Ailing says she'll hold them off so Lin Feng can go get some backup. Surprised, the MC questions this whole sacrifice decision, but the girl answers that someone needs to survive to report it all, saying she doesn't want to be underestimated after her last defeat. Crossing her blades, she yells at him to run while she fights alone, and the boy just watches the whole scene with an unreadable expression. In the very next second, knocking the girl out with a quick chop to the neck. Covered by a green aura, she completely passes out in his arms in shock, with a look of total and absolute surprise right before completely blacking out, getting completely wrapped up by the energy as she falls totally unconscious. Mocking him, the demons accuse the MC of betraying his partner out of pure cowardice, setting her down, relieved that there are 0 witnesses to his secret powers. Then he stares down the monsters with a super confident smirk. Confused, the leader questions why someone about to die is actually laughing. Without saying a word, the young guy pulls an item right out of his jacket, revealing the glowing crystal commonly known as the Lamp of Nature. Furious, the demon yells that using that thing there is just begging to die. Ignoring the warning, he tosses the crystal to float right among the projectiles. Soon a mixed barrier of green and purple forms right around the boy, with the lamp of nature glowing, getting ready to release its true power, transmuting the artifact right into the bone lamp, giving off purple energy. Holding the new item, the MC smiles, totally ready to turn the tables. Then, an undead female warrior spawns right behind him with a giant scythe, and the summon attacks, creating two massive waves of pure demonic power, with the burst of purple energy completely filling the air against the enemies, standing right in front of her master with a super imposing presence. Shocked, the skull demon wonders how undead creatures even spawned up there. With an ice-cold stare, the MC warns that the hunt officially starts right now. Right after that, materializing an entire freaking army all around him. Then the battle explodes, and the warrior charges straight at 3 skeletons, releasing a wave with a single massive strike that sweeps across the whole ground, prepping the very next attack with her aura glowing super bright. But an enemy mage tries to stop her with a big ball of pure energy. Right in the middle of the chaos, the undead armies clash super violently. Watching from afar, a lich looks completely intrigued by the whole scene, questioning how a summoner can just ignore the effect of the anti-magic zone. Then a super buff demon decides to hunt down the master of the summons, extending his sharp claws and fully preparing for a direct, heavy attack. Sensing the danger, the boy summons 4 Grim Reapers for his protection, with purple energy slamming the ground, but the summons totally stand their ground. Soon, the enemy troops push forward and the MC's army gets completely ready. Then the buff demon smiles, showing off his sharp teeth in a really sinister way, explaining that if the master dies, the summons will just disappear on their own. Staring down the guy, completely mocking the overall intelligence of humans, shattering the ground with a heavy step, charging right in for the attack, screaming out loud that this is gonna be an absolutely free and easy victory. With a serious look, the kid turns his head, totally ready for combat, using the dark demonic technique known as the soul-destroying fist, charging with his fist in a purple aura and ordering the MC to just die. But the young guy bites his finger to fully concentrate his own vital energy, clenching his fist with a super powerful green energy coming right off his arm, with the green aura growing all over his body, revealing his stacked up power. Surprised, the demon mumbles while his ugly skull face actually starts to crack, screaming when he realizes that the punch thrown by our boy packs the exact equivalent of 20 years of power focused into one single point. In pure shock, the creature heavily doubts it can actually block the attack, with their fists clashing, triggering a massive blast of light that blinds everything. Thanks to the crushing force of the blow, the demon is totally and fully disintegrated, and the MC watches the result while his loyal army just keeps on fighting. Right after that, 4 brand new super powerful dark summons show up, crushing an enemy's skull, and the shocked lich asks who the heck the guy is. Wearing a suit and covered in a purple aura, the young guy stares the enemy down, questioning the skeleton demon about the exact objective of their sudden attack. But the lich sneers, saying that everyone will just be fuel for Guladosa. Annoyed, the kid recognizes the name, seeing that Guladosa is involved in everything. Then he calls upon one of the summons, being a super pale-looking girl. The summon looks totally confused, not understanding what he actually wants from her, asking if she's any good at interrogations and if she's up for the task. Then, the girl gets a very serious look as she gets wrapped up in the aura. The MC gives the direct order that he needs to know the demon's whole plan, with a little smirk, demanding the exact location of every single ally. Soon the servant gets ready, making the purple energy pulse way stronger, flexing her full power, totally ready to beat the information out of the monster. And the skeleton demon watches the scene with pure hate in his glowing red eyes. Suddenly, a giant shadow hand spawns out of nowhere and violently grabs him. The servant turns into a purple blur and attacks, giving 0 chance for defense, with the monster getting completely consumed by the summon's overwhelming energy. With the job all done, the MC turns around, keeping his totally serious look, finding the pink-haired girl still completely passed out on the cold stone floor. Not really caring, he just turns and keeps walking, totally leaving her behind there, arriving at an altar with purple flames and a super bright glowing magic symbol, with a cracked white sphere just floating right in the middle of the flames. Noticing that his nature magic and all other systems are totally blocked right there, realizing then that this exact spot is the true epicenter of the anti-magic zone. Trying to touch the altar, but an unseen force just stops his hand from moving, with the sphere pulsing in a dark aura and protected by heavy arcane seals. So the young guy figures that human physical strength just isn't nearly enough. Because of that, he calls out one of his bulkiest summons to step in and help, materializing a fully armored creature that slowly walks right up to the master. Standing by his servant, the MC orders it to smash the device on the altar. Obediently, the summon focuses a massive charge of pure energy right into its body, with a clenched fist completely overflowing with power, prepping for the huge impact, throwing a devastating punch and unleashing a crazy beam of pure purple energy, hitting the barrier dead on, which completely shatters under all that extreme pressure. Soon the sphere in the center of the altar gives out and begins to disintegrate. In just seconds, the core of the anti-magic zone just completely and totally vanishes, and the kid watches the destruction of the device, keeping a totally neutral expression, looking around and noticing that there's absolutely no enemy sign left anywhere, with the battlefield totally covered in bones from the huge clash that just ended. Then he decides that step one is to go right back and check up on Ailing, heading back to the exact spot where the pink-haired girl is still unconscious. Checking on Ailing, the young guy notices she's totally fine, besides a few scratches. Then, Savas pops back up with a totally wronged and dramatic expression on her face. Feeling awkward with his servant's drama, he just lets out a super long sigh. Soon, he gets totally serious and calls out to the girl to pay closer attention, with a super focused look that's completely filled with pure determination. However, something completely unexpected suddenly takes him by total surprise. Looking down, he spots a bright red book decorated with a shiny golden star, and the pages of the object just begin to flip all by themselves. Holding the open book, the MC carefully checks out the weird content inside. Then, a bright red magic circle starts glowing super strongly right on the paper. Floating up, the item releases a green aura that completely surrounds the kid. Stunned, he wonders out loud how the heck that thing just activated all by itself. If you liked it, drop a like for the next part.